welcome to Cinemadness. We have a special weekend edition for you today, and I'm joined by my usual cohorts, Adam and Roman.
Hi.
Hello.
Hey, guys.
We have a special guest with us today. We have Joe. Hi, Joe.
Hey, guys. Hey, Joe.
We really just wanted to do a quick little episode this weekend just so we can discuss the hot topic that's been out and about in the past couple of days in the film industry, and that is the rivalry that's brewing between AMC and Regal and Universal Pictures. We've all discussed it on our own personal timelines on Facebook, and we just thought we could get together and just have a brief discussion and see if we can change each other's points of views, or, you know, whose side are we on? So, Joe, what's going on? Tell the viewers, if they don't know, what's going on right now in the industry.
Yeah, I mean, if you guys haven't heard, this all started with Trolls World Tour, which is a ridiculous sentence to say. But it had the largest VOD opening ever, which, I mean, low bar, I guess. But it's almost made back its budget, supposedly. So the total budget, you know, including the cost of production and the cost of advertising and promotion, somewhere around 125 million for Trolls. They're sitting close to about 95 million now. And the vast majority of that is from on-demand. Apparently it opened in about 25 drive-in theaters around the country, made about 60 grand total box office. So the vast majority is all from those $20 rentals. And it was such a success that Universal has said that's the way they kind of want to move forward with their movies, is same day releases onto rental and on demand as it's out in the theaters. So AMC naturally did not like that. I think a couple of other companies, mostly Regal, have sort of followed suit and are basically saying, we're not going to show your movies in our theaters if you guys go forward with this plan to release things on demand the same day they come out in theaters.
Right. So Universal is the only theater that has come out and said this, right? As far as we know.
Right now, they're the only kind of production company or studio that has said flat out that they're going to do it. But there's lots of rumblings that, you know, other major studios are going to follow suit. But this has been brewing for a while now. Just
right.
As audience tastes and sort of preferences have tended more towards staying home or just consuming media in a different way.
Right.
The virus certainly just kind of forced it into a situation where it just was a natural fit for.
Sure. But okay, so let's talk about that. So you have Trolls. I know that Universal did Trolls 2, The Hunt, Emma, and I think there was one other movie. Invisible Man. And then
also The Way Back, that Affleck.
Oh yeah, that looked bad to begin with, but
it was fantastic.
Was it? Okay.
Really good.
So
now, did you see that in theaters or did you see that on VOD?
Oh no, I saw it on video.
Oh, okay.
I don't think it made it to the theaters.
Just by saying on video.
You said on video.
I don't think it ever went to the theaters at all.
I think it was out so a lot of these were out for like a week.
Oh, okay.
They had like 1 week in theaters and then everything shut down. So
yeah, I mean,
I'm not sure if they even count that.
We saw the Invisible Man in the theaters, and then like right after that was when they started shutting everything down. So I personally bought The Hunt, The Invisible Man, and Trolls to rented them. So what the deal is you pay $19.99 and you get the movie as many times. You can watch as many times as you want for the next 48 hours. And you can actually give your password to other people, you know, just like Netflix or whatever. The only reason I bought Trolls was for my kid because he's home and we were going to go to the movies anyways to see it. And I personally think that is why it made so much money. One of the reasons is because parents are at their wits' end, you know, homeschooling their kids, and this was a way to not only have a cheap movie night at home, but to just get the kids something to do and get out of their hair. So I don't necessarily think that you could summarize this whole thing as, oh, look how well Trolls did, and this is the main movie that we should focus all of our VOD goals on. And I get it. I know that they'll always make money on VODs, especially, kids, but this is a weird time right now. And so I don't know. I think that they were almost like, look at how well this movie did, when of course it was going to do well because of the situation we're all in.
So here's my question though for you, because you're in the unique position as a parent who has a toddler aged kid. If given the choice, would you take him to the theater with all the rigmarole that goes with that, or would you just rent it at home and get a couple of hours at home to yourself to like plop him down and just be like, okay, relax,
100% take him to the movies.
Would you?
Yes, and here's why. Ever since he finally started getting into going to the movies, I'll take him to anything he wants to see. Like any movie, any kids movie out, we've seen it. I want him to enjoy the theater experience. I want him to get the love that I've had ever since I was little. I want him to enjoy that. I think it's fun to get out of the house. So I'm not the mother that just turns on the TV or turns on the movie, plops him in front of the TV and says, here, watch the movie. I want to watch it with him and experience it with him. So 100% without a doubt, I will take him to the movies. In fact, I'm really upset that we're going to have to purchase Scoob, the new Scooby-Doo movie, because he's really into Scooby, and that was an experience that I wanted to take him to and be in the theaters. And yeah, there is rigmarole at the theaters, and yes, we have to miss sometimes 5-10 minutes because he has to go pee, even though I asked him 100 times before it started and he said no. But that's the whole experience, and I'm kind of bummed that I'm missing out on a lot of movies because of this VOD thing. But that's me. And I know a lot of parents are completely different. I don't know about you, Roman.
I have a kid who is about 1 year and I believe 1 month younger than Allison's. And I am completely opposite. I prefer the at-home experience as opposed to going to the theater. A couple reasons why, and we talked about this on our podcast previously. Di and I, my wife and I, we were going to take Gabe to go see whatever movie was hot before the virus happened, and we priced it. Just to get in the door, it was going to cost us $42. It was going to cost us $42, and we're not even talking about after food, after concessions, anything like that. I probably would have dropped about $80 to $90, including the admission, just for the three of us to watch. So when I buy a package like Trolls for the home, or any movie like that at the home, I'm only investing $20. I already have my food. I have a dedicated area that I'm guaranteeing that he will enjoy. I don't have to have the 3-minute go potty break. I don't have to have him sit through, adjust himself, try to lay on mommy or daddy or grandma. In my case, I don't have to do any of that because it's right there in the theater. To me, watching Trolls in a controlled environment was fantastic. Watching any of these films that are coming out has been a fantastic experience. It's something that we're already accustomed to, I feel, with Netflix and other things where we can have a nice controlled environment. Guarantee the variables. You don't have to worry about someone kicking your chair. You don't have to worry about someone keying your car. You don't have to worry about, oh yeah, it's happened.
Well, that's right.
What kind of rigmarole are you hanging out with? Oh, never mind. I was gonna. You go to Tampa theaters.
Anyways, no, you don't have to worry about having to go from Tampa to Pinellas Park, which is 18 miles away, to catch 1917 and run allegedly 2 red lights. Allegedly.
I'm so glad you brought up 1917, because that's a movie that a lot of people are saying there's certain movies that you can't watch on VOD. And 1917 is one of the recent ones that came out that people would be like, I don't know if Universal put that out, but let's say Universal did put that movie out. There's certain movies that you cannot get the full experience at home. No one can argue that.
So and I'll kind of agree with you there, because they're definitely, I'm very much a theater person. And there are definitely movies where it's about the experience and kind of the spectacle. I saw 1917 in the theater and also at home. Now, granted, not everybody has the same kind of like setup as I do. I've got like the full surround sound. I've got the Atmos speakers. I've got like a decent sized 4K TV.
He even hired an usher just to ring out.
But so, I mean, I don't feel like I lost out that much between it. But the thing I wanted to kind of touch on is, for me, in the recent years, I've stopped going to the theater as often. And a lot of it has to do with just the changing sort of demographics of the audience. People are texting during the movie a lot more often, or just talking, even at like a low level. And yeah, I mean, I can be annoyed by it, I can be mad at it, but a lot of it is just that generational shift where younger people have never been without that phone, right? Like going 2 hours without answering a text is not part of their makeup. You know, I didn't get my first cell phone until I was 18, and it was definitely not a smartphone. So when I would go to the theater, I would just leave it at home. Like, I was just like, okay, cool. I don't need this for 2 hours.
Yeah.
Right.
That's not the case with, you know, maybe the next generation down below us. We're all kind of in the same ballpark age-wise. And so it's just like, it's one of those things where like I could either go, I could get up every 5 minutes and complain to a manager and have them do nothing about it. Or I can just watch it at home where I can at least control, you know, if anybody's talking, if anybody's phone is going off, you know, all that kind of stuff. So, you know, some movies you can go to, like your big blockbusters. Like if you go to see, I went and saw, I think Avengers Endgame was probably the last like big blockbuster that I kind of went to see. And everybody was pretty respectful and they were all into it and stuff. But that's a very specific subset of moviegoer. So a lot of it's just like the movie-going experience is kind of not what it used to be. And, you know, like Roman was saying, you're spending $60 just to go see a movie, you know? But I do think that's why you're going to see maybe a decline in the big corporate movie theaters, whereas the smaller, more independent ones, kind of your Alamo Drafthouse, who has like a very strict no cell phones at all policy that they actually enforce. I think you'll see movies like that, or movie theaters like that, kind of grow more and be more successful because it'll attract the people who want that big bombastic experience versus just, oh, I want to go see this movie. You know, the people who just want to see it and they're used to watching stuff on like a cell phone, they'll just stay home and rent it, you know, and maybe that'll just improve the experience for the rest of us. But I do think that's going to be part of what drives the decline in theater going.
Hey, Adam, it's been a minute since we heard from you.
I'm still here.
Forgot Adam was there.
I was trying to find a great transitional way to get you involved, but I know we've covered this previously on some of our podcasts, but if you don't mind, what's your take on it? Where do you stand in terms of the movie experience versus the VOD experience? And then I think it would be great to transition back to the subject of EMC, Regal versus Universal. So what's your take?
I tend to agree with both of you. I think there are
both
movies.
You as in him or her or a good-looking guy over here?
You haven't said anything worth anything. So. I think it's basically up to the consumer. I mean, if you want to go see a big movie in a theater, go see a big movie in a theater. If you don't want to, then don't. The studio's going to get the money anyway. I've always been a big supporter of VOD simultaneous releases since VOD's been a thing. I always thought it was stupid that studios didn't do that. I love going to theaters. I'll never lose my theater going experience, but if I'm going to go to a movie, especially locally, something like The Witch or Midsummer or something, and sit there while the person in front of me has their phone out texting the whole time, I would rather have just watched it at home in the dark. And you know, it's like Joe said, it's a matter of choice. And I think Universal doing this, giving you that choice, isn't going to hurt anybody. And I think AMC and Regal are throwing a big hissy fit.
I agree with your take.
Plus, they don't make as much money as you think they do on the movies. It's all concessions.
Yeah, they make almost nothing on the actual ticket sales.
Right.
And I found a very interesting article, which I think after we post this video, I'll also link up to our Facebook page and our Twitter account. where Forbes was breaking it down in terms of the concessions. And I believe they referred to it as the nut, which we'll read the article. That will take too long. But when I was reading everything and researching this to prep for this particular podcast, because Joe kind of ripped me a new one when he first initially posted this on our page, it reminded me very much of when I was a bartender. Hang in there with me with the story, guys. I was a bartender.
There goes all our time.
Okay, a real quick story. I was a bartender, and a woman who came up, it turns out she was a stripper. And we ended up kind of talking, just because that's what bartenders do. And she was venting to me because the strip club was pressuring her. And I'm like, pressuring over what? She goes, I was doing private showings myself, earning some money, and the strip club would like a cut of my private showings when I'm doing it myself. I'm doing everything myself. I'm marketing myself. I'm doing this myself, but they still want a cut because they're associations with me. And when I was reading the articles to getting prepped for this show, it reminded me very much of that story that the stripper told me years ago. And very much so, it reminds me of how to me, my take is AMC and Regal are jilted, as Adam touched on earlier. They seem very petulant, in my opinion. Universal is, in my opinion, on the subject matter, Universal is doing a lot of the hard work. They're taking the risks. And AMC and Regal and movie houses, corporate movie houses like this, are a luxury. There are one-off situations, and I'm not trying to get in that. I love Tampa Theater. I love Giggle Water. I love other houses like that we give shout-outs to and enjoy. But in terms of the bigger commodities, I think, they were already taking hits to begin with. And with this whole situation, I think Universal AMC and Regal is trying to set a tone to make certain that they don't have complete mass exodus. Just like a strip club is saying,
you can't blame them. But then you can't blame them. Like, you have to be able to see both sides. Like, AMC was already dwindling, right? AMC and Regal, and everybody from the moment this virus started, they're like, this is the end of theater going experience, blah, blah, blah. So although I think they're both acting like children personally, like I think they're both extreme, but can't you see that AMC is just grasping for straws at this point? And they're just trying to say, yes, this is my stance because we're about to go under. And Universal put more movies out last year than any other theater or any other picture production.
Yep. For the record, we're good.
And the next big Universal movie is the Fast and the Furious movie that comes out next year. And if AMC doesn't get on board with this, they're definitely going to go under for not showing that movie. But I get where they're trying to, kind of like throw up a last like Hail Mary, like, please, I don't know. I see both of their sides. I really do. But the issue with the VOD thing now, this is kind of going sidetracked, but I thought Adam would probably get a kick out of this, is the Academy is going to allow this year only all of the VOD people to be nominated potentially for an Oscar. And
well, it makes sense. There's no box office.
Yes.
Yes. So you're okay with it this year only?
Yeah. Well, if you can't go to a box office, then Bad Boys for Life just wins everything.
Oh my God.
It already did. Bad Boys for Life.
Why don't
hear that, Martin Lawrence? Get ready for your acceptance speech.
Yeah.
Why don't they just change the timeline to, instead of 90 days to like 40 days or something? Wouldn't that be better? Because right now it's like 90 days in theaters, right?
Yeah.
So change it to be less, and then you can have both. You can have VOD and movie theater.
Okay.
I still don't see a problem with simultaneous. I think theaters will still prosper with it. People are going to still go to the movies. It just seems like that Regal and AMC are looking for something to complain about.
I think the solution is both sides need to give a little.
Yeah.
Universal, as an example, will make a little more. Actually, they make a lot more off of VOD than they do off of the individual ticket sales. They could bring their percentage of the take down a little bit from ticket sales to give AMC a little bit more and say, okay, yes, you'll sell less tickets, but you'll get to keep more. It might even out. It might actually make more money for AMC. The way that it's all set up now, which it requires a movie studio, it requires a production company, it requires a distributor. There's so many hands in the pot that almost no one gets a big chunk of everything. And there's, different types of agreements, but movie theaters universally are getting the least, which kind of makes sense. They do the least amount of work in actually producing the films. But I think, if maybe Universal was like, okay, cool, we'll take 1% less off of ticket sales, AMC might say, okay, cool, we'll let you do this if you let us have a little bit more. Like there could be some more give and take rather than we're just not going to show your movies.
Right. I agree.
Okay.
Trying to be the king on top, I guess. So
that's one thing that really stood out to me when researching everything is I just see an opportunity for reform in terms of how the current structure is. However that may be, definitely I think that starts a conversation of reform, whether it be structure, whether it be take. And it's been a very interesting dive in terms of the economics of how a movie is produced and how it comes to us, the viewer. Just a reminder, all the moving parts that are out there. And to be frank with you, I think there are some moving parts that may be unneeded. They may be the pancreas of the viewing portion of the entertainment business. Yes, good knowing loquacious. Adam, save me.
As a diabetic, I don't like your pancreas.
Yep. Sorry about that.
No, they Adam was saying the other day that the local movie down here sent him a survey on like when you're ready to come back to the movie theaters, what would you appreciate? Would you appreciate contactless waiters and like food in boxes? So at this point, they have no choice, just like every other industry, to look at their current day-to-day activity and change it. Like this is
good.
They're gonna have to change their prices. They're gonna have to change how they bring people back, because I think I saw a survey the other day that like 40% of people said that they would go back to the movies in the next 6 months. Like that's horrible. 40% in the next 6 months.
Yeah.
I mean, I might not go in the next couple of weeks, but I'm like ready to go back to the movies.
Well, and then think too, if a theater can only open to 25% capacity, 40% of 25% is not going to pay to keep the lights on. Like you may as well stay closed.
Right. Yeah. So they have no choice. So, well, quickly before we end, this was a really good topic. I appreciate. Since you are our first guest of our new, well, kind of like, this isn't really our season 2, but this is like our quarantine season. You're going to be our guinea pig for our new segment called 3 in the Seat and 3 on the Street. Ready?
Go for it.
So we're going to ask you 3 questions about theater going experience and 3 questions that are just random, like, freak on the street. Okay. So question 1, if you could be any film character, who would it be?
Any film character. Oh gosh. I don't know. Honestly, I'd be Luke Skywalker.
All right.
Not counting the new trilogy, but just classic.
Not counting what?
Not counting the new trilogy, just classic.
Yeah.
Not counting him being a badass, but when he was a white.
No, really, I just want to be young. Is what.
Oh, you like him young, huh? Okay.
All right. If there's one item not to bring into the theater, what would it be?
That's cell phone, honestly.
Cell phone. Okay.
Luke Skywalker.
Luke Skywalker. Your favorite sex scene from a movie?
Oh gosh. God, where do I begin? There's so many. So in terms of just entertainment, honestly, it's that scene from The Room, because it's so awkward.
Oh
and
my God.
So clearly like doing her belly button that it's so much fun to watch.
The hip.
Okay. I like it. All right. What is a song that you jam out to?
Oh, I've been listening to recently.
Go ahead, say Alison Road by the Gin Blossoms. We know that you bought that.
No, so I have been listening to a lot more Bush And like I don't know, like
Roman sees here's the word bush and he perks up.
yeah. So I've been listening to The Chemicals Between Us a lot, which is not like their best song, but it's like a little catchier and more upbeat.
It's a good song. Okay. What is your most memorable put down?
Like that somebody gave me, or somebody once told me I looked like I'd never had to open a door for myself in my life. That always stuck with me. Because on the one hand, I was like, I think you're trying to insult me, but are you also saying that I look like I'm just really well off? And that
that's funny.
Do anything for myself?
That's funny. And then the most burning question is, what is your favorite sandwich?
Oh,
Favorite sandwich? That's pretty easy. I really like a hot pressed roast beef and Swiss.
Very good. Very good.
oh, nice.
That went off well.
Anybody else want to say anything?
No, it's
No, it's
Joe.
yes.
Yeah, Joe, thanks for joining us. Sincerely, we've been itching to have you on, and we look forward to having you on again.
Literally have a captive audience.
Maybe we'll actually have you on in a podcast where you're sitting next to us, so that way I don't feel like I'm having some sort of powwow.
6 feet apart.
Yeah, there.
6 feet apart. Right. All right. Thanks.
2 hands between.
All right. Talk to you later.
Bye, guys.
Bye.